no matter how successful you are, you wake up and you're like, man, is this all there is? The stuff I thought mattered maybe doesn't as much or at all. And the stuff that matters a lot to me right now, like I didn't know it mattered before, and many of the things I had them in the wrong order.
What's up? Welcome to the Iron Deep podcast. Got my good friend Steve Richards on this episode with me. What's going on, Steve?
Nothing. What's up?
Not much, man. Thanks for joining me today. It's been a little bit, been about a year or so since I got a chance to chat with you. We used to chat all the time back in Indianapolis and have beer together and just to shoot the crap. So I miss you, buddy.
Yeah, man. Likewise. If this is the only way we can catch up, I'm up for it.
That's right. That's right. Well, guys, Steve Richards is an Indianapolis real estate legend, owns a local real estate company there, runs a multi-seven-figure wholesaling, flipping business. He also is just an amazing man. He coaches, mentors, part of real estate mastermind groups we might dive into today. But really, Steve, I really want to talk about your journey because I know you've been on this journey the past several months, and this is a topic that we love to talk about in Iron Deep. We're all about identity, and you've been kind of on this journey about gaining your identity back as a man. So I want to just kind of dive into that today. Take us back a little bit. Like, what was there a point, I guess, where you felt like you lost your identity?
I think. Sorry about the camera, by the way.
No problem.
Well, this is how real and raw this talk is. The spirit of God is like pumping through my camera right now. So, I think all of us come here with a plan. Our soul had a plan. God has a plan. Kind of all fits in together, and I don't look at it as like, I don't know if it's really losing, but I think all of us come through, and as babies we forget. We're here to grow and learn, and a lot of us spend our lives trying to remember who we are, not find out who we are. I really think it's remember who we are because it was already written. It was already, there's a reason we're here, and I've just been getting closer and closer to figuring that out. And sometimes it's like, dude, I'll tell you, it's like a hypochondriac who finds WebMD. And like, sometimes I think the closer you get, the more like neurotic it can, the more pressure there is, because you're like, man, I know this is on my heart. I know what I'm supposed to do. And we have pretty good lives, you and I, they're different lives, but pretty similar in some degrees, right? Comparatively to 99.9% of the people in the world, our lives are really, really good. But it's funny because I think the deeper we get and the closer we get to who we're supposed to be, the bigger then, even though it's like maybe only this far to go, but the gap seems so big. And then you're like, man, I'm stuck in my crappy life. And my life's not even crappy. It's really good. But like, I just know there's this next level. Right. And so, 10 years ago, man, I was if you would have asked anybody at the time, they probably thought I had one of the better real estate businesses in town, running a RIA and doing all these things. And man, I wasn't who I was supposed to be. I was far away. I had the wrong business partners, wrong employees, wrong clients. Man, I was, if anybody wanted to meet up, I'm like, cool, let's meet at the bar, let's have beers. And definitely wasn't working out, wasn't taking care of myself, was going through the motions, going to church, not digging in. And 7 years ago, I had a big awakening. And I know we'll dig into certain parts, but the condensed version is I really wanted to become a better version of me. And so I started doing a lot of things. And then 5 years ago, that started really taking hold. And then a year and a half ago, I had this like spiritual awakening kind of behind my emotional and physical awakening. And about 4 months ago, I've learned more in the last 4 months than I have in the last 4 years. Like, I've spent most of the last 4 or 5 years helping other people, running a business, coaching people, facilitating masterminds, like being the dad and the family, the husband, like a leader, and everybody's coming to me and needing me and wanting from me. And I'm sure you talk to everybody about that a lot. There's a lot of pressure that I literally put myself in that position. But I got to a point, dude, where over the last, up until about 4 months ago, 5 months ago, I couldn't listen to a podcast. I couldn't read a book. I, I just was like, my head is so full of every like knowledge, and I don't need to learn anything else about business. I don't want to talk about real estate. Like for a while, I didn't even want to coach anyone that was in real estate anymore, even though
Mm-hmm.
I know like you and I are deadly lethal helping someone after all these years of real estate. But I was like avoiding it because I just like, I'm so sick of that. Like I got into this weird spot. And so, you know, over the last 4 months, I've been in a really deep spiritual journey, and probably a little different than some people. But the more and more I talk to folks about it, like at the mastermind I was just at, like I know a lot of people that watch this, you said, are in real estate. So I was just at the family mastermind last week. I mean, it's 200 of every single person that you know of it. That's a coach, trainer, vendor, software provider, data provider, whatever. It's anyone. It's a who's who of everyone in the real estate industry. I did this kind of crazy thing last week. I went to Orlando on Wednesday after I was in Tampa for family, and I'm sure we'll dig into that here in a minute. But it was very spiritual, and I brought that up to about, I'd say, 40 different people. Like I walked up, it was like I was a Mormon, like on fire. I walk up and I'm like, hey, they're like, how are you? I'm like, I'm good. Guess what I'm getting ready to do on Wednesday? I'm just like telling everybody.
Witnessing
Yeah,
at
I
the
was like, I
family.
was laying it down. I wasn't witnessing for Jesus, but kind of in a way. But it was so funny, dude, because like I would say 20, if I had 30 conversations, like personal, 28 of them were like, I'm on a similar path.
Mm,
I'm already doing similar things, or dude, that's what I needed to hear, or call me as soon as that, keep in touch. Like, men are craving this, what we're going to talk about today. Like I think we confuse, I even said this in a text to you today. Like I used to confuse religion with spiritualness.
mm-hmm.
And, I think religion's more of a practice. It's how you practice it. And I think spiritual is more personal. But like, I think everybody's in this position. I'm just realizing that, we lose our identities in a way, but it's like we can't remember, like I
Mm,
said. And dude, I have literally changed so much from 10 years ago to seven, from 7 years ago to 5 years ago, from 5 years ago to a year and a half ago. And then over the last 4 months, and even over the last like 3 weeks, 2 weeks, and I've got some trips and some things planned. Like it's crazy how much I'm evolving right now. And I don't think my journey is unique in that I need something other people don't. I think all of us, lull into this place where we just wake up one day and we're 30 or 40. I'm gonna be 50, I'm 48, dude. I'm gonna be 50 soon. Like no matter how successful you are, you wake up and you're like, man, is this all there is?
mm-hmm.
Is this what it is? And the stuff I thought mattered maybe doesn't as much or at
Mm,
all. And the stuff that matters a lot to me right now, like I didn't know it mattered before, and many of the things I had them in the wrong order in the
mm.
past.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's dive into that a little bit because you brought up just a great point. That sometimes we forget who we are, and it sounds like you some along the journey and other men very very similar. We forget who we are, and then years go by. Like we wake up 10 years, 20 years go by, and we don't remember who we are, whose we are. Sometimes what we say, and this happened to you, and it sounded like 5 or 6 months ago you couldn't even, because I know you love to listen to things, you love to learn, you soak it in the knowledge. You're a coach at heart, you're a mentor, you love to read books, you're always growing. But it sounded like there was a point where you couldn't even do any of that. Like, why was that? Like, what was kind of going on, like the battle or the war? What was that?
Well, you know, I was joking before we started recording. We need like a 2-day event to talk about this. In fact, you and I should discuss doing this too. But I think it's because my soul, I'm getting more connected to who I'm supposed to be. And it is becoming so much easier for me to realize to say yes to things and no to other things. Like, dude, when I ride my car right now, I've got this spiritual mentor, and she's an intuitive, she's really in tune, and she can really pray in and connect. And it's funny because she was like, I'm getting this feeling for you, like you're always on. I'm just like, you got your headset in all the time. You've got something on in your radio. You got music blaring in your ears at the gym. You're listening to a book on your phone. You're talking to somebody, like you're at a meeting. Like I even sleep with these, which I love this app, but it's like binaural beats, but they're like theta and delta waves. Like you put them in, and I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but like you have to wear earphones, but they do a warble, like a woo, 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 but it can like lower your vibrate, like it can literally get you into a delta, like a deep sleep, and then it can wake you up. Like I sleep better than ever with that in. But she was like, you don't even sleep in quiet. Like there isn't 1 second of the day where you're still
Mm.
and quiet. And so like when I get in the car, like I don't even want the radio on anymore. Like that's how like ingrained I need to think like about what I need to think about. You know what I mean? I didn't watch one, and I know I'm gonna kill the evergreenness of your podcast here, but the NCAA tournament just finished.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't watch 1 second of one game because I just got stuff to do. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's crazy, and it wasn't like I'm super busy, but like I was just in the moment at home, and my family doesn't watch it, so it just wasn't on. And and I think that's why the long answer to your question is I think the more you get on your path, the easier it is to be on that path. And I think the farther away you are from your path, the easier it is to be distracted.
Mm.
And I don't think sometimes a rut feels like a groove. And I don't think we always know the difference. A rut would be like Groundhog Day, just living the same day over and over again. But when you're not understanding that you're not in the right direction that God wants you to be in, that your soul isn't going its path, you might just think this is what I do. I get up, I take care of my kids, I kiss my wife goodbye, I go to work, I crush work, I swing by the
Making
gym,
no
I go
money.
home, I do it again. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but it could be a rut isn't that much different than a groove. The only difference is what path you're on.
Mm.
That's tweetable right there, by the way.
There you go. There you go. And I love that. I think I heard one time that if you get 1 degree off of your path, it doesn't seem like that much off your path. But if you keep going that 1 degree, you just end up different part of the world.
Yeah, you wake
Right.
up one day and you're like, is this all there is? Is this
Yeah.
what I wanted? Like, yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about that being still. Because I've actually, it's funny sleeping. Let's just take sleeping for example. My wife, she likes to turn on a fan, and I always like to listen to something. I don't know, not like rap music or anything like that, but listen to some music. But she doesn't like to do that, so I have actually started putting in headphones and trying to figure out, because I've been having trouble falling asleep, and I think a lot of it is I've never had this before, but I can't turn it off. And I can't be still like you're talking about. I think a lot of men and people in general in the world are dealing with that. They can't shut it off. It's destroying our health. It's destroying our sleep. We can't be still. One of my favorite verses, like if I had to tattoo a verse on my arm, it would be still and know that I am God. But for some reason, sometimes I can't ever be still. So like,
Yeah.
why is that? Why can't you be still? Why can't I be still? I mean, what's going on?
That's that for a long time, that was my life verse.
Yeah.
Um, and it's kind of funny that it's come back around. Now I understand why it resonated with me so much because, in my prior business, when I had a turnkey business and I ended that in 2014. So, I mean, that's going on almost 10 years ago when that was a different, we managed 350 houses and I was doing 20 rehabs at a time. We were leasing 10, 15, 20 houses a month. Like we had brokerage, we had agents on our staff. Like we were barely even wholesaling. It's kind of interesting, but man, I ran all those. I didn't have an integrator partner like I do now. I've got basically alchemy. My business with Brian. Like he and I are so good. We mesh together. Like really really well. And he's an integrator with a decent amount of visionary, and I'm a deep visionary with like a little bit of integration, but the integration I have is deep. Like I can make a system better than anybody. I just won't use it like once I make it. But I can make like Brian, every system Brian uses, I made.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about it, but I don't even know what my logins are to anything. You know what I mean? Like a friend of mine's opening a title company here. He's like, can you send me some HUDs so I can see what going the fees are in Indiana. It's like, dude, I'll have to ask for
Yeah.
some because I haven't seen that in years.
That's funny.
But yeah, Brian's got all of them downloaded on his phone and he's checking all the math on them every time. But you know, in my prior business, I didn't have an integrator partner, and we had a brokerage investment company, the construction company, and the property management company. And you know, later we're going to be happy that my camera was doing this. It'll be like a fun thing. Uh,
We'll edit it.
so it's it was interesting to me because I just had a line of people outside of my office every day, and it's usually problems.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would fake phone calls. I would put my phone. I learned I had to put it on do not disturb because if I faked a phone call when it wasn't on do not disturb, it might ring while I was holding it to my face, and then I would get caught in my lie. But like, I would literally like a fake a phone call to like walk through the office to get out because I couldn't even walk through the office without people stopping me and wanting to
Mm-hmm.
talk. There's always problems and issues, and I just realized like I had no margin in my life, and I
Mm.
think we do that. I didn't have time margin. I didn't have money margin. I didn't have thought margin. I never realized how important thought margin is.
Yeah.
Like like mind space, like keeping mind. We give our mind space away to so many things. Like we've got to keep the majority of it needs to stay with us. Like I need at least 51% share of my mind needs to be with me. I back then I literally had probably at some points 105% of my mind. Like I had too much. I had more than anybody should have on their mind. So it was like maybe 110% of my mind was given away. And I think it's a coping mechanism, dude. I think it's numbing out. Like I drank way too much alcohol at one point in my life. Um, Kind of weird. Like I definitely was liked it and drank too much, but I never fortunately have friends who I know are alcoholics that I just like I can go months now without drinking. I don't even care. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's weird how how God um I don't know cured me of that path I was on, but like
It's almost like you
but
were
I
awakened. I think you were just awakened because I've been through the same things. I'd love to have a few beers, and I always say I don't know if I could ever stop doing that because it's fun. You socialize, you have a couple of beers with someone, and then. But yeah, I've been kind of the same thing. I don't think I've drank in maybe 7 months just because I chose, and then after a while, it's like whatever. I don't care.
yeah,
Not that
I
big a
don't even
deal.
want to. Like but I enjoy bourbon. If I travel, usually to mastermind, I'll definitely drink some bourbons and I can still when I want to tie one on, I can still drink more than somebody else and go to bed and wake up feel fine the next day. It's like I still have it in me, but it just got but the leaning into that too much just went away. Like it just God
Mm-hmm.
took that out of me like at
Mm-hmm.
some point. And I think it's like you said, I think it's a lot of vibration, like where we vibrate, like, you know, frequencies that we're on, where we've like our mind and our consciousness is at.
Mm-hmm.
But um business is no different, dude. We numb out with like sports, we numb out with alcohol, like you know, a lot of dudes are numbing out with weed now, like these days.
Let's talk about margin.
Okay.
Um, So you talk about how important it is to have just that mind space, that margin in your life, and that I don't know how many times I've told my wife, I have no margin. I don't have any time. I just keep going every day. Wake up, just keep going. I don't have any margin. And as she says, you got to have margin in your life. And I want to talk about how important is that for someone, especially business owners, and then how do you create that for yourself? How have you been able to create that, and what's it look like now as you're creating margin?
Yeah, dude, it's very intentional. I'll cover that for a second. Then I got a real practical thing that I think will help people. Um, you know, I think what it looks like is just realizing, like anything, is just realizing it's important. Like I didn't really understand it until I had it, and I had it because I shut a business down. And I just didn't. I was literally like in survival mode. I was just like every you know I had no money coming in at some point after I was used to that, and then I would have to like go sell a house to like get some money. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Like and then drive around and collecting rents from people, like scooping some money together. And so I spent like a year just in that weird mode when I shut the other business down, where I didn't start another business. And luckily, I had some properties to sell and things like that to bring some money in. But like there was a crazy tight times financially during that. But like I started to have more time to be with my thoughts. A deep thing too was, and this is very um, pragmatic as well, was I started going to see a therapist. And dude, I had a counselor, I had a therapist, I had a nurse practitioner, a doctor, a chiropractor, a golf coach, guitar lessons. Uh, I had a trainer at the gym. Like, I don't even remember what else, but I was like, if there's anyone out there I can pay who knows something I don't know that will help me be better. And I just realized during that time with a lot of those folks, like focus is important, you know, running in somewhere, hanging the phone up, not being present. You know what I mean? You're running late and then showing up and not even. When I go to a meeting now, I've already processed every possible outcome of that meeting like 100 times on my way there. I've got my intention set. I've got my mood set,
Mm,
the agenda set. I know the outcome. I visualize the outcome. Like that's what margin can do for you. Like
yeah.
I truly, I truly believe like God gave us the ability to manifest. Like this is the the secret or whatever, right? It literally does start with a thought in your mind, and if you don't have any time to think, I mean, we've all read Think and Grow Rich. I'm almost assuming most people that are watching this podcast have. It always starts with a thought, and it gets spoken into the world, creates a vibration. And when you don't have time to think, you can't have thoughts. Your thoughts are just reactions.
Hmm.
So here's a practical thing I'll throw on the end of that is with a lot of my coaching students, I've witnessed this and realized like go getters like us will have conflicting goals. They're like, dude, I just started this business. We're having our first kid, and like I'm gonna run a triathlon. Like, okay, this doesn't end well for two of the three things.
Right. That's awesome.
Like, if your goals are to be the best dad, the best husband, a triathlete, and an entrepreneur, and you're trying to do them all right now, like it's not going to happen, right?
Yeah.
Um, Currently, we own our real estate business, and I'm more involved in that than I'm more involved in my real estate business right now than I have been in years. I mean, I spent largely most of the last 5 years being out of the day to day. I'm not particularly in the day to day, but as the market shifted, like I'm sitting in my office now, like this is my empty office I'm never in. There's nothing in it. Nothing's on the wall. That printer doesn't even have paper in it. I
No,
mean, like
no ink cartridges.
geez, dude, this is getting bad. That screen behind me is not hooked up to a computer. Like, I don't know. Anyway, it's interesting to me because I've got my real estate business, but most of the guys I coach they're all entrepreneurs, business owners, but a lot of them are in real estate. And this is the other thing. We own this team architects company that's really getting ready to take off. And so this is a software play now, but it's also a service to help people hire and build their teams. It just so happens that this team architects company helps people hire and build teams. That is also one of the biggest problems I coach people with. It's also one of the biggest things that we struggle with in our business. I spend a lot of my time thinking about how to effectively run a business,
Hmm.
which has to do with maybe KPIs and hiring people and managing people and right. And so I spend a lot of my time, whether I'm in my coaching business, my real estate business, or team architects. Those are the only three things I do now,
Hmm.
other than go to the gym a little bit. And so, or too much. But whenever it's almost like whenever I have one of the three things I'm working on, like it almost that conversation could happen in any one of the three businesses.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
almost the same thing. What I mean? I've converged where my focus is. Yeah. So really where I'm headed with this is understanding my conversations when I'm on the phone with a coaching client or a team architects client or whatever, it'll go from I don't know how to hire someone and train them to somehow we'll be talking about where their energy level is and how they're just frustrated. And I'm asking them how their marriage is.
Mm.
And then I'm talking, they're not sleeping it well at night and they don't work out. And then I'm asking them if they've had their hormone levels checked.
Mm.
Like your T's probably low. You can't outthink or outwork low T.
Mm.
If you have like if your thyroid's off or your liver's not processing, you know what I mean? Or you're low on vitamin D and B, like you'll have a bad immunity system, you'll get sick. Like you, the micros and macros in your body, like your blood, your organs, like that stuff is so important. And then your head, like in therapy, like understanding childhood trauma, and we all have it. Jesus was like literally the only perfect, human being. And so we all have some kind of trauma, no matter how cool our parents were. So our head is off. We have a chip on our shoulder, or we have a validation issue, or whatever it is, right? Or we have an abandonment or neglect issue. And so if our body's driving our energy level and kind of how we operate, and then our brain is driving our thinking, like, man, if we're trying to be a business owner or like hit our God-given purpose, like, good luck. Like, it's, if you don't have your body right and your mind right, like, you can't get in the mode. And so kind of bringing this all the way back to what you said was, it it's a function of understanding this. Excuse me. And once I started getting my hormone levels right and my blood work and my vitamins, and I started exercising and I started sleeping better, and then I talked to my wife, who we just hit 30 years together the other day, dude. We've been together 30 years.
Wow.
And I tell my wife one day, like, we're not okay. And she's like, what's wrong with you? Like, you're acting weird. I'm like, no, we need to talk more. We need to be connected more. Like, she's like, this is how we are. We've been together all these years, we're fine. And, we love each other. And
Mm-hmm.
I just got really serious about all of it, man. And once it all started coming together, I just realized I started figuring out who I was. And then that made me make it easier to avoid things that weren't meant for me and aren't important for me. And things started going away, and I had more time to think, and that margin came into play. And I realized the interplay between my mind, my body, my soul, and how until those got cleaned up, I couldn't cut through the crap. I was medicating with business and alcohol and thinking, learning. I just always wanted to try to stay occupied, right? And that's
Yeah.
not. I just, yeah,
Yeah, for
I
sure,
just
man.
realized, like, when you can cut through that stuff, like, the more you do, like you said, once you get some margin, you want more of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just something, and I think as men, we do lack or avoid one of those areas. And when as you're talking, I can feel myself avoiding and not facing reality in something. Maybe it's my body, maybe it's my mind, maybe it's my walk with Christ, maybe it's my business or my marriage. So as we kind of just wrap up here today, we're just really talking about like your journey over the last 4 months. You went through kind of just this awakening, and there was a point in time where you couldn't listen to podcasts, you couldn't really, learn and take in the knowledge, and you were really just seeking out the best version of yourself, which I think you love to talk about. So I want to ask you this as we kind of just wrap up this particular show. Like, what is the best version of Steve? And so talk about that, and then just talk about the results of where you're at now versus a year ago, 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know what the final version of me is. I know what the next version is. I'm here to make a big impact. Kind of the religious way to say it is, to make, to help build a kingdom. Um, I think I'm here to help, like I said, men get their identities back and remember who they are, so they can, I think business owners in particular resonate with me because I am one, and know intimately the struggles they're going through. But also, in some ways, man, business owners are, they affect the kingdom more than anybody. I mean, they have clients, employees, vendors, investors, bankers, partners. I mean, if we get our minds right and get in the right groove and can share that with other people, we influence a lot of people, I guess is what I'm
Mm.
saying. So I know that this next phase in life, like this better version of me is, there's some old thoughts and old habits I have about, like, what I thought my marriage was going to look like what I thought business was going to look like, or what I thought my time was going to look like. And it's funny because it's almost like a death when you let go of some of that stuff, because you just have this, especially the older we get, we kind of get set in our ways. But I just realize now that I don't have all that figured out. It's not up to me to figure out. Like, the most important thing we can do is to do our mission. We can't do anything better for our wives as men, than be the man we're supposed to be.
Mm.
that will draw them in and allow them to open up, because our women, our wives need security and safety as one of the top priorities. And like, if we're not being who we're supposed to be, that doesn't make them feel safe. And if we're not making them feel safe and secure and showing them that we're out doing what we're supposed to do in the world, they feel like maybe they have to step up and do it. I think it's also important for our kids and everyone around us. And so figuring out who we are. And you know, I remembered in my fraternity in college, we had to write down, like, at the front of the book, it was like, write down your love, your likes. And it was like, you had to write your fraternity first. Most guys write their girlfriend second and God third. And then like whatever they really liked after that.
Mm-hmm.
If your girlfriend ever saw your book and like, it was like, where's she at? She's pissed if she's not at the top,
Yeah.
or whatever. And you would get crap from your fraternity brothers if the fraternity wasn't at the top. But it was funny because like I realize now, man, like putting God first is not different than putting me first. Like I am God, God is me. Like we're all come from the same place. We're all connected, man. We all came from God, and it doesn't have to be in some kind of order. Like me being who I'm supposed to be is me putting God first, because I'm being who God intended me to be. That's the same thing. So me carrying out my mission and being my best self is me honoring my relationship with God. They're the same thing. And I can't do that without being healthy and in shape and having the finances to make a difference. Like I'm realizing it's like it's all connected so much that I don't have these priorities as much anymore that are in like some kind of order. It's like I realize how intertwined it all is. And I think that's one of the big messages I'm trying to bring out to people is it's all so connected. And it all starts with being who you're supposed to be and figuring out remembering what that is, and then going after it. And what you have to do and learn to become the person you're supposed to be is the journey. Like that's the thing. It's less about getting there, because when you get there, as every time you hit a new level in life, you want to go, then you have a new perspective. But like, it's becoming the person that can do the things you did is the reward. And then once you're at that level, there's a new level for you. And then that's when you're honoring God. That's when you're being who you're supposed to be for your wife and kids. That's when you're helping your community. And for me, it isn't just doing things, it's understanding it to the root of why I'm doing it, how I'm doing it, why it worked, and then teaching other people. Once I learn it, my goal is to turn around and just teach somebody else.
No, man, I love it. I love it. Well, I think that as men, if you guys are listening to this, I think that if we can all just get on this journey of being the best version of ourselves, for God's given glory and His purposes, and I think that if we can all just get on that path, I think we're going to have better organizations, better families. We're going to really make a truly impact for the kingdom, just like you, Steve. So thanks. I'd love to have you on. Sorry for the camera issues, guys. But Steve, it's been awesome having you on the podcast today. I appreciate you, buddy, and wish you the best. God bless you, man.
Thanks. Love seeing you, dude. I'm love to come back sometime.